Joining us now on the SHU Hockey podcast is the captain of SHU Hockey, Marc Johnstone. Marc, thanks for taking the time out to talk to us today. How are you?
Good, and I'm happy to be here.
Marc, we just have a couple of questions for you. This is your second season as captain of Sacred Heart. What's the biggest decisions you have to make on and off the ice, and how does that positively affect your game as the captain of SHU?
I really think it doesn't change it much. I believe we have a lot of leaders on the team this year and last year that obviously take some of the pressure away from me, which is nice. And you get voted captain just for being yourself. You have to just continue to be yourself and not change.
Marc, I want to take you back to when you first started playing hockey. Where'd you start? How'd you get started? Can you walk us through that?
Of course. I started in Cranford, New Jersey with my across-the-street neighbor. He was a goalie. And obviously you can't shoot on yourself, so he'd ask me and my older brother to come shoot. And that's right when we fell in love with the game, got our first pair of rollerblades, and took off from there.
What was your high school hockey and playing junior, and how did you end up at Sacred Heart? What was the process? Did you have other Division I offers?
I didn't have really any Division I offers. Sacred Heart was one of the first that approached me, which that really just show your loyalty. I'm a pretty loyal guy. I enjoyed what they had to say as well. Started when we were playing U18 for the Avalanche, and that's when I met Scott McDougall, my now assistant coach. And we just had a bunch of good conversations, and then I visited the campus, and I really enjoyed it. And luckily, I was fortunate enough to come in with some of my best friends as well.
Was there any point in your high school hockey career, or even before that, where you realized that, hey, you could play at a college or even a D1 level?
I guess there's always like the hope and the dream, but it's pretty unknown territory for me and my family. We had no one that really had done it before. I didn't really know anyone to do it before. So, I mean, you kind of just stuck with the process and just listen to your coaches. I have to give a huge shout out to the Avalanche coaches I had, Marc and Vinny Smith, with all they did for me and how they manufactured my way here.
You mentioned Scott McDougall, and in the previous podcast, we had SHU alum Justin Danforth on, and he said he drove 8 hours to his house in a snowstorm. What would your message be to recruits who are looking at Sacred Heart, and what would you tell them about Scott McDougall and his loyalty to the program?
Like you said, he's a very loyal guy, so I mean, he's going to stick with you. Whether I was in juniors and I had a tough first season, but he was always there. He always had my back. He would just keep me positive. So, I mean, you can't say enough good things about him, especially with the energy he brings to practice. Like you guys can see in some of the videos, he loves to go and practice and keeps the energy high.
Do you recall once you first committed to Sacred Heart, your first conversation with the head coach, CJ?
Yeah, I actually called him that day to let him know that I was going to commit to Sacred Heart. And it was pretty short and sweet. I actually had a summer game not too long after that. So it was just like, welcome to the program and everything like that. And it was just a good experience.
You said you grew up in New Jersey. I know Jack is from New Jersey, but he's a Detroit Red Wing fan. Were you a Devils fan growing up, and what player did you idolize and try to style your game around?
I can't say I styled my game after my favorite player because he's very skilled, a high-level skill guy, Patrick Elias.
Okay.
But I will say I kind of stole his number, and I just really enjoyed watching him and just his leadership and just like how he carried himself as a player.
I have to ask, since I'm also from New Jersey, but I'm not a Devils fan, who's your team?
New Jersey Devils all the way.
It is the Devils. All right. I saw Detroit play in Jersey last year, and I almost saw Subban, Dylan Larkin fight. Can't say I was pleased with the end result of that game, though.
Yeah, the Detroit Red Wings, they're kind of struggling, but the
Just
Devils aren't too much better, so I can't really brag.
Marc, can you talk about your junior career that you had with the Chicago Steel? Obviously, the last season you had before coming to Sacred Heart, you had 29 points. What was the biggest change in game from playing juniors in the USHL to now playing Division I ice hockey?
The biggest change I would say is probably the strength of the players. I came out and I was obviously one of the older guys in juniors. So, I mean, I felt like I could use my strength more to my advantage. But then coming to college, everyone's the same. Everyone's a little bit stronger. So, I mean, it took me a little bit to get adjusted, but I think the coaching staff and my teammates helped me out a lot.
So this is your second year as captain. Have you always found yourself, even through playing in juniors and playing for the Avs, have you always found yourself to be a natural leader?
I believe I am a natural leader. I would just like to say, like, it's just been really my teammates that just put me in the situation, and they just do a great job helping me. Obviously, through juniors or youth hockey, even being a leader then, like, I can't do it all myself, and I got to rely on other people. Just like here, we have Luco and Alex Bates. They're great resources I have. Just like Jason Cotton, Mac Tugnut, and again, Max Luco are last year for me.
Marc, last year the season came to an abrupt end that, to be honest, nobody that plays for Sacred Heart Works or is even a fan of the team wanted to see end. As a captain last year, did you have a final message to the team for the seniors that went off to graduate and for the class that was going to resume playing with you guys this season? Did you guys have a conversation? Because you guys were scheduled to play the day that the game was actually canceled, and Robert Morris actually took the ice as for morning skate. So did you have a conversation with the team as the season ended to kind of say goodbye and say farewell?
Like you said, it happened pretty quick. So, I mean, there wasn't really all that much that was said. I mean, we obviously a close team. Like, you go to battle with them every day. So not much was needed to be said. It was just a terrible end to the season, I guess. And we just have some unfinished business to go into this season.
So unfinished business, was that your message going into this year after last year was cut short?
Yeah, it's unfinished business, and don't take it for granted, because just like what happened last year, you never know what's going to happen. And something happened last year that's never happened before. So, I mean, we're all in a little bit of shock, but now we know, like, you can't take a season for granted because you never know what's going to end.
I do want to take your words, and I want to put a little spin on it. You did say something happened last year that never happened before. You're 100% right. The CTI's tournament happened last year, something that's never happened before in the state of Connecticut, and you guys are the first ever winners of that tournament. What did that mean for you as the captain of that team to get your team and upset Yale and Quinnipiac that, aside from the people that work at Sacred Heart, nobody expected that to happen?
Yeah, like you said, nobody really expected much of us. But like you said, the people around us and the team 100% believed in what we could do. And it was just great to see everyone show up to the games. Like you were there, the crowd was pretty packed, and I think it was a game changer for us.
So going into this season, I know last year you guys were very goal driven about first year of CT Ice, and you were also nationally ranked last year, which is huge. Are you guys striving to go even further beyond that this year, or is it kind of get back to where we were?
No, obviously you always want to improve every year, whether it's winning one more game or making a tournament. Obviously our goal is to make the tournament and win the Atlantic Division. So, I mean, there's a lot of work that has to be done to achieve that goal, but I believe we're ready for it.
Absolutely.
We saw your fellow captain last year, Jason Cotton, sign a professional deal with the Carolina Hurricanes. Both of you guys were co-captains. You both had fantastic years. What do you remember saying to Jason? I mean, did you talk to him before he signed that contract? Did you talk to him after he signed that contract? Did you know that he was going to sign a pro deal? How did this all go down? I mean, I figure the two of you guys, were very close throughout the season. Both captains, both had really good seasons. Did you guys talk about anything like that throughout the season?
Not really anything during the season. Obviously, he was just focused on what we had to take care of in front of us with Sacred Heart Hockey, and I just have to hand it to him. He always kept his head down, always worked hard, and obviously he deserves everything he got. And it was just great to see. And like you said, we were very close, and he's just a great guy, and couldn't be happier for anyone.
Will, if you have any more questions for him.
Yeah, I want to go back to last season, because so much happened last season that kind of gets put underneath the rug because of how the season ended. You guys started out ranked, and then you guys won CT Ice, and then you guys were the favorites with AIC to get the first place in the Atlantic Hockey League. And then we spoke about the season, and then you lost a couple of key players on that team. Austin McElmurray, Vito Bavaro, Matt Tugnut, Mike Lee, and Jason Cotton. That's 5 or 6 players that had a big, big, big role to your success last year that are now gone. Do you think the freshmen and the transfer students and guys from last year could step up and pretty much fill that void for you guys?
100%. I think the whole thing we have as a team is just retool and revamp. And we have the players, the sophomores and juniors just moving up. Obviously, I feel like they can take the next step in their development as well. And we started practice, and the freshmen have looked very good, and we believe they're going to have a big impact on the season.
This year is a season like no other. We have yet to play a game. You guys are scheduled to kick off your season in late November against Quinnipiac in Hamden, Connecticut. Everything going on with COVID, what is your message to the team as the captain about kind of quarantining themselves, but not really, to make sure that you guys don't have a positive case and to, quite frankly, get the season off and running?
Obviously, it's just wear your mask and always be smart. Just know who you're around at all times and don't take any unnecessary chances. I mean, we've done a pretty good job so far, and we just have to continue to do that moving forward.
Marc, you've done a fantastic job on and off the ice. I mean, I've only been at SHU 3 seasons. I've seen you for 3 seasons. You are now a senior. How do you want to cap off your playing career at Sacred Heart? Obviously, you want to win the championship. That's probably a guarantee. But if you had to go one way, how would you want to go at Sacred Heart?
Obviously, you want to go as far as you can. So, I mean, we want to make the tournament, and that's our goal. And you always want to leave somewhere better than where you found it. And I believe that my class has done a big part in moving our culture forward. And we're just looking forward to see where our journey takes us this last year.
Marc, we really appreciate you coming on the show. And I can say one more thing. When I was interviewing with CJ for this position, and we were talking about if I've watched any of Sacred Heart games, if I come to any Sacred Heart games, there was one play that I remember from 2017, late 2018, I remembered, and that was you playing against Mercyhurst in the playoffs. Just the way you battled in front of the net, you got the puck out of the zone, you shot the puck from almost every angle that I could see that was at that time was Flow Sports. So you really stuck out when I was a prospective student. Now coming here, I see why they gave you the captaincy. So all I got to say to you is just thank you again and just keep it up for the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marc.
So that was Marc Johnstone. Jack, we'll dive into that interview later in the podcast, but thank you again, Marc, and we'll see you on the ice.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Wow, we could really tell from that conversation he is a natural leader.
Yeah, he said a lot of right things, and he said everything that you want to hear out of a captain. It was really interesting to hear him talk about, the season that they had last year, and that COVID conflicted everything, but he was a captain in the CTIS tournament. He was a captain when they won and became a nationally ranked team. He did a lot of things on and off the ice that is really where Sacred Heart is today.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, you pretty much nailed it on the head. They are where they are a lot because of him and how he's been a leader on the team. And I think that him being a senior and the younger guys definitely looking up to him, it's going to get them pretty far this season. I think they have a strong chance of going back to the tournament. They have a strong chance of being a contender at Connecticut Ice this year. God willing, if it happens.
So I believe they said that Connecticut Ice is canceled. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Not 100% certain on that. I don't know. A lot of reports have come out about the college hockey season that we all don't quite kind of know yet because of the whole pandemic that's going on. But what I find interesting is, I mean, Jack and I, we know this. We're at the rink almost maybe once or twice a week, and from just going to the rink, he's always the first person there. He talks to everybody. He talks to the players. He talks to the coaches. He talks to the staff members. And he just has a simple conversation with them. And that, quite frankly, is pretty much all you have to know about Marc Johnstone. Even if you don't watch a single game of him play, and if you hear stories of him about how he talks to everybody, he's the first one to arrive and the last one to leave. He says all the right things. And if anybody doesn't watch a game of Sacred Heart Hockey and they hear us talk about him like this, they will know that he is the real captain of this team.
Absolutely. And like you said, he's a leader on and off the ice. I mean, we can see it just by the way he walks when he walks in with his bag. And But I want to talk about him on the ice for a second. You have his stats up. Why don't you go ahead and
Yeah, so
share
in his
that?
3 seasons at Sacred Heart, his, if you want to call it his career year, was his freshman season, where he had 30 points, 13 goals, and 17 assists in 39 games. Then a sophomore season, he had 22 points, and then the last 2 years, he's been the captain. Obviously, no stats for this year, obviously, because we haven't played a single game yet. But last year, he had 27 points. But in the college hockey, having 30 points in 39 games and then 27 points in 34 games, that's a pretty good pace for a college hockey player.
I mean, what else do you really need to say? He's such a good hockey player, and I really can't wait to see what he does this year. In his senior season, he's going to make the most of it. You know he's going to leave it all out there every game. He's going to battle till that final buzzer. I'm just so excited to see what he brings and how he conducts himself as a leader on the ice. I mean, we've been watching how he is off the ice. I'm ready to see him lace up the skates in the game.
And it's going to be interesting because the past 2 seniors that have graduated, and I'm talking about Jason Cotton and Austin McElroy, and sure, there's been countless others like Vito Bavaro and Mike Lee who've had tremendous success with SHU Hockey. In their senior seasons, after that, they went on to sign professional contracts. And I can take you back to my freshman year where Mike Krokock was a captain playing defense for Sacred Heart, and then he signed a pro contract. So there's a lot of players who entered their senior year with a possibility of going for that professional contract, and who knows what happens. It's 2020. Anything could happen. We're certainly witness to that this season. But there's nothing else really to say about how good of a person Marc Johnstone is, both on and off the ice. And, Jack, I know you haven't seen him play yet, but if you have a chance, just YouTube his highlights. I mean, I'm sure they're up there. You can look on our Instagram page. I'm sure we have highlights of him scoring goals. He does everything you want on and off the ice, and he's just a complete leader. And every time he's on the ice, you just got to feel confident.
Absolutely. And like I said, the younger guys can only look up to him and just say to themselves, I want to be like him. I want to be like him walking to the rink. I want to be like him on the ice, on the bench, with coaches, with referees, with other players. And that's a dang near perfect captain.
Yeah. That's all we got to say on the SHU Hockey Podcast. Jack Govan, Will Pesic, Marc Johnstone. We appreciate him for joining us on the SHU Hockey Podcast. This is episode number 3. And, Jack, the first 3 guests we've had, we really can't say bad things about. I mean, they've all been fantastic. And if this is any indication how this is going to go year after year, we're in good hands.
Absolutely. Make sure you tune in next week. That's all I got to say, Will.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to figure out potential guests for next week. It takes a little bit of for us, especially now, for us to contact people. We really can't go hang out with anybody because of the COVID pandemic. But we will keep you updated as we did with Justin Danforth, and we will talk to you guys next week on the SHU Hockey Podcast.
Go Pios. Stay safe. See you next week.